Hello and welcome to Beam call number 1. We have 64 participants right now, and folks are still flowing in. This is a very special call dedicated to the social layer. We have many different teams that have come forward in addition to the consensus layer teams, the 6 existing consensus layer teams that want to participate and contribute towards this Beam chain proposal. And so today, really, it's an opportunity for these teams to say hi, share who they are and their plans, and disclose a little bit more information, and to also, share contact details so that we can start collaborating and creating Telegram groups and whatnot. So I've prepared a little presentation. So I'll be sharing my screen real quick. And then we'll get started with the presentations. Okay, so Beam call number 1, dedicated to the social layer. And just as a heads up, my plan is to have Beam call number 2 in a couple of weeks on February the 28th at 2 p.m. UTC. I'm shifting things by 1 hour just to be slightly more friendly to people in Australia and New Zealand and Oceania, because we actually have 3 different teams that have quite a lot of people based there. And the second call will be dedicated to all of the technical progress that we've made since the DevCon talk, and there has been a ton of progress. So this slide here shows some of the new consensus layer teams that have come forward. We have 8 new teams, and some of them have a new name for their client, for example, Zeam and Ream, Lantern, Colibri, and Afream. And we also have 3 existing teams that don't yet have a name for their clients. And these teams, span multiple different languages. Some that are kind of new to Ethereum, for example, Zig. So lots of diversity here at the language level, and I think this is, particularly relevant because we're moving to a paradigm where we want to be snark friendly, and so maybe there needs to be some adjustments around which languages that we use to build these consensus layer clients. One of the things I do want to highlight is that the dev count here, well, first of all, it's provisional. Like, these teams are still in formation, and for almost every one of these devs, they're still part-timers, right? We're still setting up all of the infrastructure socially with team formation and funding and things like that. One thing that I'm super excited about is that these teams are extremely geographically diverse. We're now spanning all of the continents, including South America, Africa, Asia. I guess we're not yet covering Antarctica, so there's room for more. You can see here from where all of these coordinators are based in different countries, and usually the team around the coordinator is in a proximate geography. So here's some of the websites and GitHub orgs that you can go check out. Some of these teams have already started development work. For example, working on libraries like libp2p or SSZ, or doing some early experiments integrating with ZkVMs. And if you want to track some of their progress, you can check their code. And another interesting aspect here is that some of these teams are completely new from scratch, and some are existing teams with existing business models. And especially for the existing teams, that brings funding diversity. So a surprisingly large amount of these teams, at least for 2025, are self-funded. So, for example, Nethermind, Lantern, and Lambda class, and that really adds to the robustness of the diversity. Now, one thing that I do want to highlight is that I am expecting Protocol Guild at some point, hopefully, to support the Beam initiative, especially if it kind of graduates from a proposal to something that the community actually wants to build. But I do want to highlight that there are like going to be requirements in order to get that. So if you right now we have this 6-month cliff requirement to be part of Protocol Guild, and I expect that there's going to be a rule change relatively soon, which is going to require Protocol Guild members to be working full time on L1 R&D. And just as a heads up as well, the Protocol Guild funding is going to require some sort of a formal approval. So someone, possibly me or one of the Beam coordinators, will have to submit a formal proposal, and it's going to have to be voted upon by the Protocol Guild DAO. Now, one thing that I want to highlight is that so far, I've largely been a bottleneck in progress, and it's been especially difficult for me because I'm not only working on the Beam chain, but I'm also working on the native rollups and the base rollups. And so part of what I've been really trying to do in the last few weeks is remove myself as a bottleneck. And I'm really, really pleased to say that now I have a ton of support, coordinators who can really connect the dots and lubricate things and reduce friction and basically make sure that things keep on running even when I'm sleeping, even when I'm on holiday or whatever it is. And I think most of you will know Josh. Josh has been with us for several years now. He's doing a tremendous amount of work. And we have two new faces here. So we have Ladislaus and we have Will. And these are the Telegram handles. So do feel free to ping them, to DM them, and to make use of these coordinators, which hopefully will allow us to really move much faster than we've been moving already, and we have been moving pretty fast already. Now, one of the things that I want to talk about as a little interlude is actually a setback that we've had. Ironically, it's not one that I expected. It's not a technical one. It's not a social one. It's not a financial one. It's actually a legal one. So just as a piece of context, we have other projects that have the same name within the blockchain space. So there's two other tokens. Well, there's two tokens that have the ticker Beam. One was launched in 2019, one in 2023. And it happens that the second one here has a trademark on the English word Beam. And shortly after I gave my DevCon talk, I actually received a cease and desist. So they sent me a cease and desist on my personal email address as well as my personal Twitter account. And it's been a discussion with the lawyers within the Ethereum Foundation, and we also had a conversation with the Beam team. And basically, the outcome of all of these conversations is that we need to change the name. So one of the things that Ladislaus is going to be working on is basically trying to gather suggestions from the broader community for a new name. We already have quite a few suggestions that have been brainstormed within the Ethereum Foundation research team, and basically try and curate them, and hopefully we'll get to a better outcome, like an even better name, and maybe one which has kind of richer lore in the sense that the name will not have been just chosen top down, but instead kind of chosen in a more decentralized way. Now, one of the things that I want to briefly touch on before we do the intros is that in addition to these new dev teams that are being set up, there's also a lot of work on the research side of things. Like one of the big deliverables for this year is to have this Beam spec, and And there's because we're taking a very holistic picture. There's actually a lot of modules that are being worked on in parallel. And what I expect will happen is that this research is going to really mature this year, and the devs will also have an opportunity to learn about the state of the art research, so that in 2026 and beyond, if the Beam proposal does graduate to something that we want to do, the devs will have a lot of context, and hopefully will be able to implement things, understanding deeply what's going on, and hopefully doing it faster and better. Now, one of the things that I wanted to highlight is basically some of the coordinators or leaders that are leading the research or the coordination around these important topics. So we have on the cryptography side of things, we have Dmitry, who's working on Poseidon, and is generally very much interested in making things more snark friendly. We have Benedict, that's working on the post quantum signatures. We have Anders in addition to Ansgar and Caspar working on issuance. We have Francesco working on finality and things like orbit. We have Thomas working on fossil, and actually we have an EIP that's already ready. And we have Julian, who is basically dedicating himself to attester proposer separation APS, and is doing a very thorough and comprehensive design space exploration. So if you are interested in these topics, I kind of encourage you to go talk to these people, and they can show you where to go to get more information. Now, another thing that I wanted to talk about is the ZkVM accelerationism that we're doing at the Ethereum Foundation. Like a big bet of the Beam chain is on ZK being able to take Ethereum to the next level. My hope is that over the course of the next few years, the tech is really going to mature and going to be mature enough to basically secure like a multi-trillion-dollar network such as Ethereum. And right now we have 4 different kind of accelerationist tracks, but I expect that we're going to have more in the future. So right now we have a $20 million formal verification effort, which is led by Alex Hicks. We have a Poseidon cryptanalysis initiative with Dmitry. We have eveproofs.org, which is a ZkVM benchmarking, and Will, as one of his first projects, might be working on that. And then we have the native rollups effort, which is adding a lot of motivation as well at a different layer of the stack. And we have Matthew, who's organizing calls. And actually, just in a few hours, we have a native rollup call number 2. So if you are interested in joining that call, do DM Matthew directly or DM me, and I'll put you in touch with the right people. Now, without further ado, time for intros. So what I've done is that I've actually ordered these teams in reverse alphabetical order, which kind of coincidentally roughly matches when these teams were formed. And I guess we'll just go in that order. So I'd like to invite Gajinder to kick us off on behalf of the Zeam team.
Thank you, Justin. Let me start a small presentation that I have to present. I have there to present. Yeah.
Perfect. So every team will have like a few minutes to present. to share about their background, and then there will also be time for Q&A, like 2 minutes or so per team of Q&A.
So I hope everything is coming through.
Yep.
All right. So thank you, Justin, for giving me the opportunity to talk about Zeam in this call. So Zeam is a ZkVM client, which is work in progress. And I'll talk about us. I'll talk why we believe in Beam and why we created Zeam and what are our 2025 mission objectives. So when Ethereum transitioned to proof of stake, basically it was my first hard fork for Loadstar. So go Loadstar. So when Ethereum transitioned to proof of stake, basically it opened up opportunities for scalability and decentralization. And we believe that zero knowledge technologies often offer another opportunity, which is quite unique, to fundamentally look at the problems of scalability, universal verifiability, latency, and quantum resistance. And it's going to be quite hard to bring these fundamental changes in beacon consensus. So that's why it makes sense for Beam to have a separate initiative to sort of formulate this new stack of consensus, new consensus stack with zero knowledge technologies. So when Justin gave his first presentation to Beacon client devs, within 2 minutes, Zeam was formed. And why we chose Zig, because it is a modern systems language with a modern type system. And we wanted to bridge the gap of representing Asia on Ethereum client ecosystem. So that brings to us. So me and Guillaume are the founding team members of Zeam, and here is a small puzzle for you to figure out who's who. So I'm on the right, and I also get confused when I look at the slide, but that's why I left it this way. And we have a growing Zeamer community, so please join us on our Telegrams and follow us on our X handle. And we have a very active code base that you can explore and see what we are doing. And for 2025, our mission is to have a POC to prove, gossip, and validate basic state transition function. Basically, it will be a very basic client, which will have most of the things chopped down, just to make sure that we are able to do a POC with one node with multiple nodes. And then we basically have ongoing integrations with various ZkVMs like Powder, SP1, Sino. And right now, the integrations, POCs that we are doing, they are a bit broken in the sense that there are a lot of manual steps that are happening. So that is what we will smoothen out in our Zeam client POC, where everything will work exactly as a client. And while we are doing all this, we are basically building the Zig ecosystem and community with SSZ, Snappy, hash-based signatures, like P2P. And hopefully by the time Beam specs drop, we are ready to build the client. And again, going with the ethos of Ethereum, we are collaboration. We believe in collaboration. And if you want to contribute to Beam development in Zig, we are a place to come to, and we happily seek and invite your contributions. And in the end, I would just like to sort of acknowledge various people we are working with, various entities we are working with, and or will be working with, and I hope to put many more of you over here after this call. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, Gajinder. Do we have any questions for Gajinder? Feel free to just raise your hand or to unmute and ask the question. I mean, one of the, I guess, unique things about Zeam is that it's the first team that has received a grant from the Afream Foundation. and I'm hopeful that we'll be able to give out more grants over the course of this year. And you can think of it as a seed grant, almost like seed funding, we'll see how far we can get in 2025 with that kind of money.
Thank you, Ethereum Foundation.
Okay, great. Next up, we have the Ream team with O. The floor is yours.
Hey, I also have a screen to share. I hope it's up now. Yeah, so my name is Anuit, or more casually known as O. I'm one of the contributors to Ream Labs. Ream Labs is basically a research and development team dedicated to experimenting, prototyping, building the Beam chain client by doing it one piece at a time. We were formed in December, right after just being, well, actually late November, right after Justin's Beam chain announcement at DevCon C. And for the past few months, we've been working on different components. We work on our foundational Rust code base, mostly based on the beacon chain specs for now. We are also working on proof of concepts of the ZK state transition functions and using different ZkVM backends, namely right now SP1 and RIS0, and also like benchmarking them actively. We are also documenting our work in progress on HackMemD as well. And we're also running study groups since like November. And the past Monday was actually our 10th study group around Beam chain and consensus layer, Ethereum consensus layer in general so far. For 2025, we are working on mainly three different components. First is the P2P layer for our Ream client with this v5 and gossip sub, mainly based on the beacon chain specs, just to get ourselves comfortable and familiar with the specs, consensus specs. The second thing is we do state transition certification based on also a subset of beacon chain specs as well. And we try to fit them into different ZkVM backends and benchmark them. The third thing is we'll try to implement a post quantum signatures later this year. But we haven't started any work on that. So hoping to do that maybe later in Q3 or Q4 of this year. I also have to note that while I'm from Thailand, the team is actually very distributed globally. We have here Hoppenheimer, Caden, and Kobe based in the US. We have Jihoon and Jun based in South Korea. We have Parda based in the UK. We have, I think, Philip based in Germany and US. And we have Varun based in India. So very geographically distributed, except for Antarctica maybe as well. So yeah, that's like 6 countries represented for the Ream Labs. Yeah, so we are very happy to be here and excited to be a part of the Beam chain effort.
Amazing, thank you, Onawat. Any questions? So one piece of information that I shared in the initial table is that Ream is the second team that has applied for a grant, and basically the strategy that we're thinking of taking is basically using the Zeam grant as a template, and trying to treat all of the teams as fairly as possible, and yeah, looking forward.
Is that if that's okay? Why is Rust so suitable for a client?
So I think the rest of my team can jump in here, but I think one of the main reasons is the tools available, especially that so far like we have been working a lot on the ZkVM layer, and apparently working with Rust, being able to compile down to RIS5 is probably like the default for most, if not all, ZkVMs available right now.
Thank you.
Yeah, Rust is the default, but what I expect will happen is that more and more languages, maybe to a very large extent thanks to the Beam chain, will have support for and integrations with ZkVMs. I know that Guillaume has put in quite a bit of work to get Zig to work on the various ZkVMs. Thank you so much. Next up we have Camille from Quadrivium.
Okay, hey everyone. Let me share screen. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's us. Yeah, super happy to be here. Yeah, we are Quadrivium. Yeah, we are basically a blockchain infrastructure company with headquarters in Kazakhstan. We also have an entity in Singapore. Yeah, in our main project right now is called Kagome. It's basically C++ implementation of Polkadot Relay Chain client, like not many people know, but yeah, in addition to Ethereum, maybe Solana, yeah, Polkadot also has multiple clients implementation, and actually our client is, well, fully compatible with the protocol. It's written from scratch in C++. Well, it was chosen to be the language for our project because it's one of the most widely, if not the most widely used language in the world. We have a lot of developers, a lot of libraries that we can use. So yeah, that's why we chose to implement the C++ client for Beam chain as well, or I don't know, maybe in future it will be renamed. I'm glad we didn't select our name so far because it seems Beam will not be the name of this protocol. Yeah, so in addition to Kagome, because when we were just getting started, there was no C++ implementation of libp2p library, we also implemented the libp2p from scratch to the level that was sufficient for us to use it in Polkadot. But since our first call, I think with Justin, we already integrated our library to interop framework of libp2p, so kind of make sure that it is compatible with other libraries. Yeah, before it was kind of battle tested in Polkadot in Kusama, which also uses libp2p, but it well, they have only Rust client, so we only were able to check it against Rust. But now we kind of checked it against other implementations as well. Yeah, in the past, our team was also working in some other protocol implementations, like guys were working on Filecoin. Also, there was a project called Hyperledger Iroha, where we also were involved. It's basically the blockchain that is used in Cambodian CBDC right now. The fact that I'm really proud of is that the majority of our team is kind of working together for more than 5 years. So you can see here the main contributors, main developers in our company. So yeah, we have experts in low-level optimizations, in multi-threading, environment programming, and well, experts in consensus, in well, storage, peer-to-peer networking. Yeah, so really excited to be here. Hopefully our expertise will be helpful. And yeah, I think that's it about us. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Camille. I guess one piece of context here is that Quadrivium is the team that I believe is maintaining and even potentially created the C++ implementation of libp2p, and Polkadot is migrating away with Jam away from libp2p. So I guess Ethereum is a very appropriate home for this libp2p implementation. Okay, if there are no questions, then we can move on to the next team, Nevermind. I think Jorge couldn't make it, but I believe Mark might be here instead.
Hello, yeah. I can speak quickly for Nethermind team. I don't have any slides, but so yeah, I'm Mark. I work as a core developer from the Nethermind team. And I'll be involved in the Beam chain project along with Jorge and others from the team. So Nethermind is one of the existing client teams. So we built the Nethermind execution client, which is written in C#. But there's also like the wider business. We do other stuff, auditing, research, AI, like outside of that. Yeah, the whole team is very excited about the Beam chain project. And at the moment, we've been working on just building expertise around the consensus layer. Started to look into ZkProving.net for the Nethermind client and for the Beam chain client. And we've also got a .NET libp2p implementation we've been working on. Yeah.
Amazing, thank you. Any questions for the Nethermind team? I guess one question I have is, have you started thinking about a name for your client?
No, I don't think we've decided on one yet, but yeah, it's good to know about this copyright issues with Beam. So we'll have to have a brainstorm, I think.
Yep, makes sense. Guillaume, you have your hand up.
Yep. I had a question actually. I saw Łukasz said you guys were working on an EVM, like a RIS532 implementation of the EVM. I was looking into doing the same thing for Geth, but the Go compiler does not really support RIS532. So I'm just curious how you approach this one.
So I can answer that. So okay, so we tried going through WASM and then going through LLVM, and that existing tools didn't help us. We are also tried going through C, and similar thing happened. Now the two approaches is to either develop our own translation layer from IL, intermediate language, that's kind of the bytecode of .NET, to LLVM, or modifying the RISC-64 compiler that is being developed and being supported by Microsoft to support 32 bits.
Wow, that's pretty intense. Yep.
Yeah, it's
good luck
pretty
with
intense.
that.
It's pretty intense. We do have some hardcore people, so I think we will do it. It just may take a bit of time.
Yeah, I know some ZkVM. I think Lita is also targeting RISC-V64. So for Geth, which is not part of the Beam effort, I was thinking of actually just targeting Lita as a first step at least. But yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mark. Next up, we have the Lantern team with Mihir.
Thanks, Justin. I'll just share my screen. Okay.
Yep, we can see that.
All right. Okay. Sounds great. Yep. Hi, everyone. My name is Mihir, and I'm from the Peer 2 team. So just a bit more context about like what who P2 is. So Peer 2 is a Australian company that basically provides staking services in the APAC region, and as well as we run a bunch of different infrastructure for a number of different blockchains, and as well as we've been working on building a light client for Ethereum, a consensus layer light client named Lantern in C#. And last year, we basically got to showcase it at the DEF CON event. And as well as we got to learn about the Beam chain. So I guess like the most exciting thing about Beam chain is that the fact that like devices with limited compute will be able to verify the state root with ZK proofs. So we have some ideas about working on new kinds of use cases where IoT devices are like tracking the Ethereum state, and they're just using that information in the smart contract for their use case. So our plan is to basically just build prerequisite libraries in C for the Beam client. And the main components that I mentioned in Justin's presentation were basically SSE, libp2p, and discovery. Our recent work has just been building SSE library in C that we've recently open sourced on GitHub. At the moment, we've just been working on like the test vectors, and once we made sure that it works on a number of different platforms, we'll be able to move on to the sort of next modules that are required by libp2p. But yeah, that's pretty much it. But yeah, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mihir. And as I understand, the name Lantern is also a nod to where the project started in Thailand, which has a lot of lanterns. Any questions for Mihir? I also just wanted to say thank you for joining this call. I know it's like 2:30 a.m. Sydney time. Yeah, time zones are really hard. Yeah, hopefully next call will be slightly more friendly for you. Thank you, Mihir. Next up, we have Fede from Lambda class.
Hey, I'm Fede from Lambda. Lambda is a company, an engineering company, a research company that started originally in Argentina, and now it's in Argentina, Uruguay, France, and Spain. We have engineers mostly in Europe and Latin America. And we have been working on the core of ZK development with different partners, ZkSync, Starknet, Polygon, Mina outside the Ethereum ecosystem, Aleo outside the Ethereum ecosystem. We're working also in distributed systems with Eigenlayer on other partners. In the last year, we have created an Elixir consensus client to learn more about the L1. It's already working. The last week, it only failed once because of a bug that we were aware of. We only built it with 2 people. It was more like an MVP to learn. Now we want to make it production ready, but our main focus on L1 is to work on the Rust execution client that we created that is already fully syncing with mainnet. We're improving the performance on it, and we should have some announcements in the next few weeks. We work a lot with Rust, Elixir, on other programming languages. On the Beam, we don't have a name. It's gonna be probably Lambda on the name, the new name of the Beam chain. We're not very good with naming. We have the same issue that Nethermind. I think most engineers are good at creating things, but not very good at naming. We should find a better name. We finally found one for the execution client because it's called eDrex, like a T-Rex, but with a Ethereum. Because our engineers found it funny. So probably we might find another funny name for this. We're gonna probably build it in Rust, but since there's many, I'm pretty sure many people will build things in Rust. It's very likely we'll also do it with Concrete. It's a programming language we're developing that is similar to Rust. You can check it out. I can show it afterwards. It's like a Rust, but simpler due to linear types. And we might do it to have some resiliency on also because we have fun building. We're having a lot of fun building execution on consensus clients with the team.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Fede. Any questions?
Yeah, I don't want to overstep my limit of questions, but this thing about concrete sounds really interesting. If it's like because with Rust you often see that one of the problems is complexity for wide adoption, and I never heard about concrete, but it seems to maybe solve that issue. Would it be helpful if that code would be more accessible for more people in some way?
So one of the criticism I have inside Ethereum engineering is that it's pretty complicated, the code bases. The last few weeks I don't want to name things, but we all have good and bad things, obviously. You can go to our code bases and find bugs and complexity, but I have been like learning a lot about some code bases I didn't know about, and they're super complicated. They're super abstract. Researchers are very good at abstracting things, but when you implement code, from my point of view, it needs to be very simple and very clear. Actually, Geth, it's incredible in comparison to many things. I'm surprised by how good it is for the amount of years it has been used, on the amount of people involved. Also, there's not a lot of people that work on it. So yes, like I think the programming language is important. And I am a huge fan of Rust. I have been using Rust in production since 2014. We have donated money to the Rust Foundation. We know the core team of Rust. We work closely with them. We helped organize in Uruguay one of the biggest conferences in Rust. The problem is that Rust is very complex, like the macro, the traits, the amounts of crates. From my point of view, young people love it to make things more complicated to show off. I actually remember that Vitalik said one time that he one of the things he learned is to simplify ideas that he used to call a hypercube of a binary hypercube instead of an array of bits to something. And that's normal. We all started like that, and we want to simplify things. I think the same things happens in engineering. I believe that Rust has an issue. It lets you make things too complicated. And one of the reasons is how the borrow checker works. So you can check concrete. We're working on it, but obviously we won't make money out of it. It's only a losing money thing, but I think long-term it could help to have a very simple, it's more like Zig, but safe system, program language with linear type system. And hopefully it can also bring new developers to Ethereum, like Zig is building with Gajinder. I don't know if I'm saying your name correctly, but I think it's pretty cool to have people working on Zig on Ethereum. That's going to bring new developers, more programming language, more people getting to the community.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Fede. Next up, we have York from the Colibri project.
Awesome. Hi. Yeah, so the Colibri project, or like the client, we call it Colibri. So as team, we're part of Corpus. Teams consisting so far of Simon, Stefan, and myself, and we're all based in Germany. So Simon is an old school lad, so he has been involved in the DAO in 2016. His brother wrote the DAO, and yeah, he was not an insignificant part of that. And so the last startup, so we've been together already in Slockit, where they already worked on a stateless client, but that was like for the good old proof of work Ethereum chain. And yeah, that was something that was always in the back of our mind. And now we have a venture studio with 2 more co-founders. And after DevCon, like we have the opportunity to check out different things and work on stuff. And so after the talk Justin gave on the Beam chain, we also discussed it internally whether this would be interesting for us to participate in the Beam effort. And yeah, we decided to join and also work on the ultra light side of client development with the experience that we have and with the unique approach. And so the client name, Colibri, so that stands for hummingbird, that also reflects the lightness of we are striving for in client development. So as you've seen already, we are still open and we're discussing which language to use, but we currently tend to C++. And yeah, let me hand over to Simon. He wants to also share some technical details of our approach.
Sure, why not? Yeah, as Georg already mentioned, we've been around for quite a while, almost 10 years now, focusing especially on connecting blockchain, especially Ethereum, to IoT. And with IoT, we really talk about embedded devices with really low resources. That's why also we chose C for the implementation with 200 kilobyte of executable. With 200 kilobyte, we are able at least to verify everything that's at least important enough and relevant and on an application level. And so this is also why when we started a few years ago with Incubed, also with the same goal, with the client targeting on those low resource devices, we focus, of course, on the existing proof of work at the time, but implementing the whole EVM there and all the protocols and libraries needed from scratch, just to be small enough to fit on the embedded device. And we did the same now again for the beacon chain, the SSC libraries and all the stuff there. So, and we expect this to be released, at least the first version, pretty soon. It's already working quite wise. But of course, now we are looking forward to also contribute to the specification for the Beam chain, especially always looking from the angle, how can we make sure that all of those things can be verified on low resource and embedded devices. So I'm really looking forward to go that way.
Excellent. Thank you, Jörg and Simon. And yeah, like the promise of blockchains was that we would, be able to verify everything on mobile devices. And that, to be fair, hasn't happened yet. But hopefully the Beam chain is what really unlocks this, because dramatically reduces the friction to full verification, even on a smartwatch. Any questions for the Colibri team? So we have one more new consensus layer team, and then we'll have the existing teams speak as well. So the last new Beam team is Afream. Ayodeji, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much, everyone. Good evening from here. I don't know why my camera is not opening, so I don't know. Let me see why it's not opening now. Okay, I'll just go with the camera if it's not working. So my name is Ayo. Let me see if I can share. I just have one pager. It's not something very complete. It's just like one slide. So are we working on Afream? Afream is new. We decided to like go with this after Justin's talk at DEF CON. I had a lot of people looking for me. I was like, Ayo, it's time to have a client in Africa. I'm like, okay, why are you guys looking for me to do this? Or like, you have enough guys, you have enough developers to do this. So my name is Ayodeji. I am the founder at Web3 Bridge. Over the last 5 years, we've trained quite a number of developers who have worked in some of the teams who are on this call, without directly or learning from their program. And we've had a lot of people talk about building consensus client and all sort of clients for a while now. So we decided that it's time to do it, since there's a lot of learnings that have gone into this scope. We've trained over 200 developers in the last 5 years. And a number of these guys are full protocol guys. I have Lungs on this call who works with who's the co-founder of Blockfuse Lab. Blockfuse is founded by alumni of Web3 Bridge. Lungs, in the last 3 years, I've worked with a number of protocols, building stuff with them. He is focused more on Golang Gets, but then we decided we're going to be doing this with C# or Rust. So we are more like very new. And why we're doing this is because we believe that there's a lot of issues about consensus clients in Africa. So we are doing this to do not just an experiment, see how we can also contribute, because we believe that apart from the economic part of it, education part of it is very important. We've been running nodes at Web3 Bridge for the last almost about 4-6 months now, to see how consensus nodes do, to see how this is run, to also like serve as education purpose for the developers themselves. So we're going to be doing this. Presently we have our guys learning ZK and Rust over the last, that started in January. So we have some other guys who are, so we have like I told Tim yesterday, we have 6 actual developers who are protocol focused who are going to be working on this. And we have a shitload of researchers who are also developers who are going to be contributing to whatever we're doing. Our study group is officially opening on Monday. We have people who have been studying in silos. We are pulling everybody together as a group so that we can start like formal stuff. Our documentation will be live next week, so everything will be shared. And we look forward to doing this challenge and see where good it actually gets. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ayo. Yeah, super exciting to have an African client. I'm really looking forward to supporting you guys. Any questions for Afream? If not, well, that concludes the introductions from the new teams. Next up, we have the existing consensus layer teams who will speak to what are their current thoughts and plans regarding the Beam chain. I think without the support of the, can you guys still hear me?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Sorry. But yeah, without the support of the existing consensus client teams, I think it's going to be very, very difficult for the Beam proposal to graduate to an actual thing. So I'd like to invite, let me check my spreadsheet, Terence from Prism to give a few words about what their thoughts are on the Beam chain project.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is great. So I guess like I can speak perhaps more on my individual perspective because like I don't know, like my team hasn't fully we don't have cohesive consensus on like what to do here yet. But I'm just one of the many that got to like luckily contribute to consensus layer for the last 6 years. And then I work on Prism. I'm one of the consensus layer client dev and Prism team. And I think the whole beam chain idea makes a lot of sense because it allows us to move fast, basically, to do this update in batch. I definitely agree with this approach. I think it's the right one to making the consensus layer that's more competitive for the years to come. I think one word of caution for me is that I think a lot of devils are in the detail. There are knowledges and details that on the consensus layer today that unfortunately only a handful of people that know. I think that made me feel better. I see a bunch of Francesco's name on the current design because Francesco is like a Fortress Esper. And a lot of the devil in the details are on the Fortress stuff today. So I think like we want to move fast, but at the same time, we also want to make sure that we loop the existing people in because of they have the knowledge, they have the lesson. It doesn't make sense to like reinvent the old wheel. We don't want to repeat the same mistake. So yeah, I'm definitely very supportive. I'm excited to follow along. Definitely want to provide unconditional support. And then for the time is right, Prism team will also jump in as well to contribute to the beam chain as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Terence. Yeah, and 100% agree on the fork choice rule. Just historically speaking, we kind of YOLO'd it, and then we found a bug, we tried to fix it, and then the patch introduces a new bug, and then we do this cycle multiple times of cat and mouse. And I think what we want to do with the beam chain is just get it right first time. And that means having something which is like provably secure. You know, Francesco has been doing, you know, excellent work in that perspective. And not just getting, you know, something that's provably secure, but also getting something that is simple. You know, striving for maximum simplicity. Yeah, that is one of my guiding, I guess, aesthetics for the beam chain, is to try and keep things as simple as possible, while at the same time having all of the robustness of provable security or whatever the equivalent is. Thank you, Terence. Yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to just raise your hand. I'll just keep on moving forward. Next up, we have the Nimbus team. Dustin, would you like to share a few words?
Yeah. So yeah, first, thanks for organizing this call and sort of in general kind of maintaining the momentum on this project. And it's great to see that moving forward. And I'm looking forward to the call number 2 as well, when we get to hear more about the technical progresses on that. So the first thing I just want to say is I want to signal that Nimbus is indeed sort of its support of the beam chain, or not beam chain, whatever the name we arrive on is. And so at the moment, we, including Agnieszka, who is here on this call as well, are sort of certainly going to be closely monitoring, tracking, participating in spec development as appropriate, and ensuring that we're kind of ready on the code infrastructure side. So I will say that from the perspective of, various people have talked about building up that part of things. Obviously, we have that, as you know, Prism has theirs and we have ours, and so that part is you know, we're kind of ready there. I think I mentioned in chat, but so we use NIM in the name, NIM relevant to the RISC 5, ZkVM, proving, etc. So this already compiles through 32-bit sort of targeted C among other targets and platforms. You can WASM, etc. So we have no real concerns about being able to target something provable for ZkVM. There are other questions outstanding, but we'll see. And yeah, as some specs solidify, we will definitely be ramping up implementation efforts and doing so, and basically be treating it as part of our consensus layer in general. This is, I mean, if to the extent that this is where the consensus layer is going, we have a consensus layer team, you know, releasing with everyone else, and we will continue to do so as that migrates over to Beam. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you, Dustin. And not only is Nim like really friendly to compiling to RISC-V, but as you said, like the existing consensus client teams have a big leg up because you have a lot of the libraries that have been set up, whether it's SSZ or like P2P. One of the things that I'm hoping we can do with the existing client teams is basically not overburden them. Like there's a lot of pressure on the existing teams to basically ship all of the incremental upgrades that we want to see in the coming months and couple years. And so really in 2025, my hope is that there's a light touch approach where most of the existing devs can keep an eye on developments, but otherwise sit back and mostly relax.
Right. I want to comment. Okay. Okay, I see something.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So about that timeline or schedule. So one of the things that's in parallel, and I mean, I don't know how closely people here who are not already sort of part of the Ethereum development and deployment loop, let's say, ACD and all that are tracking this, but there's a lot of pressure to actually increase the tempo for just the releasing of this, of the Fusaka, Amsterdam, all that. So putting aside, not saying good or bad on that, but what it does mean is that what we used to have and what in terms of the existing kind of CL and EL teams, there used to be a long period in between, like approximately a year between sort of hard forks, where kind of spec work was fairly light for the most part, and so there was a lot of leeway to play with this kind of stuff. What may end up being happening over the next couple of years is if the EF gets what it's signaling, then that leeway may decrease for a lot of the existing implementation teams. Okay, that's it.
Got it. Yeah, thank you for the note. Ari?
Yeah, just a really quick general question out of pure curiosity. Is anyone targeting anything besides the RISC-V instruction set? Like, is any client currently for the ZK compilation part of what they're doing, is every single client so far that's on board all using RISC-V under the hood?
So the only team that has signaled not going with RISC-V potentially is Starkware. They're not included in the list of 8 client teams because I think it was more of an idea than an actual serious project. But it was floated at one point that Starkware might be interested in building a Beam client, to feature basically the power of using Cairo. I guess one of the things I'd be very interested to see is how Kakarot evolves with DEVM. This is a long-standing, very complicated project to have DEVM run on Cairo. But if it can be done, and if the performance is really, really good, then that would be a strong motivator for someone to do a similar effort for the Beam chain. And hopefully, the Beam chain is like significantly simpler than an EVM execution client. And specifically, the only thing that needs to be snarkified, of course, is the state transition function, which will be custom designed to be extremely snark friendly. Thank you, Dustin. Next up, we have Greg from Loadstar.
Yay, nice to see you all and welcome all the new folks working on core dev. It's amazing to see like way more people here. Yeah, for a lot of much like Terrence and the NIM team, we've been around for quite a while, kind of just pushing the boundary on what's possible in JSTS. And we are here to make sure ultimately that network's stable, and as we go into future DevNets with potentially more riskier software, especially in the like Beam future, that things continue to do that, and we continue to have like stability across, all the mainnet and as well as our dev nets. So we're looking pretty deeply at it. It's about making Loadstar more performant as a client itself, and basically looking at like how can we also kind of kill two birds with one stone and future proofing. I do want to introduce Peter, though, from our team. He's our head of protocols and kind of leading like future R&D efforts at ChainSafe, and I think that's really important. I don't have a lot of time to do core dev anymore. I think the last stint I did was a laughable reference implementation in Bash back in the day. But yeah, I'd love to introduce Peter, who can give a little bit of a tidbit and kind of main point of contact moving forward if you want to like really get into the experimental weeds of Loadstar R&D.
Hey, everybody. Nice to meet you all. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Justin, and coordinators for this call. Yeah, from the Loadstar perspective, I think as soon as Beam was introduced last year, it became part of our roadmap conversations. One of the big efforts that we do currently is to improve performance, because within the JS land, there's only so much you can do with the Node.js itself. There is a consistency problems, unexpected garbage collection hits, and stuff like this. So we are experimenting with some system programming languages like Zig. We're experimenting with different runtime environments for the JSTS, like Bun, for example. And yeah, we're trying to be as performant as possible. We're thinking pretty extensively about how Loadstar will be able to handle more like a tighter timing constraints. There are some tooling that we are building around GSTS and the Zig itself that hopefully will help us to adopt to future changes. Beside performance itself, we just keeping up with the underlying cryptography and specs following. With the help of Gajinder, we trying to understand the difference between the consensus spec, the Beam spec, and how we can navigate this waters. And yeah, we're definitely ready to embrace the future. We're more than happy to adopt some of the tooling like JSLib2P or something that is needed, and of course provide any feedback for the implementation where it's possible. And yeah, happy to go towards this future. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, Greg and Peter. And yeah, really cool to see that there's synergies with other teams, around Zig and Zeam. Actually, one thing that I want to say is that historically speaking, what we saw with the Beacon chain is 10 different teams kind of come up when Ethereum 2.0 was announced, and that over time kind of consolidated down to 5. And I do expect some amount of consolidation from the 14 teams, and it might make sense. I'm not saying this necessarily makes sense here, but it might make sense for projects that share a language at some point to join forces. But at this point in time, I'm very much celebrating the diversity that comes with having so many teams. Okay, looks like we have no questions. Oh, Gajinder, go ahead.
Yeah. So for a client like Loadstar, where basically it mostly operates on a JavaScript runtime. So when they will invoke state transition, they can basically prove the state transition through system library integrations. And I think that is what the Loadstar team is anyway building its core specialty. That they are integrating various system languages into the Node.js runtime, and when basically so it's basically more, so the client is more than just straight transition function. And I believe even a client, a TypeScript client, TypeScript JavaScript client can basically participate very well in for example Beam ecosystem, by basically invoking state transition, proving, and verification on a system layer.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point. That maybe architecturally, what we're going to see is some specialization in the consensus layer teams. There's going to be some that might write, only the state transition function to be, super snark friendly and super easy to prove. And then there might be some teams that use that as a library and just write, wrapper logic around it. The syncing, the fork choice rule, the caching and all the other stuff that to a very large extent is arguably most of the complexity of writing a client. Great. Next up, we have Sean from Lighthouse.
Hello. Thank you, Justin. Yes, I work at Sigma Prime. We developed the Lighthouse consensus client. I've been working on Lighthouse the last 5 years or so. So broadly, the team's very excited about the idea of making more radical consensus layer changes. For me personally, that was one of the reasons I was attracted to the Beacon Chain project. It was like a more radical set of changes to Ethereum. And yeah, so our intent is to deliver a Rust client for the Beam chain, and eventually roll this into Lighthouse to provide like continuity for our users. And we're hoping to expand our team to support this. We're hoping to upskill a bit with the ZK tech. We currently maintain Rust libp2p, and we've written SSC libraries, so there are obviously like synergies there. And our intent is to treat the process for the Beam chain as we do the consensus layer process. And by that I mean like stay very involved in the spec, deep understanding of the spec and lots of feedback. Stay very involved in the testing process, development, deployment. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. And yeah, I agree with you that like as this project blossoms, we're gonna have more and more people involved. We're gonna have the DevOps team with DevNets and TestNets. We're gonna have academics that will want to write academic papers analyzing subsets of the Beam chain, just like they did for the Beacon chain. We're gonna have to involve security auditors and we're going to have to educate the broader community, including the stakers, the staking operators, pretty much everyone. So we're just getting started here. We're incrementally ramping up. We have these two coordinators that joined recently, and hopefully by the end of this year they'll be fully ramped up, and we'll be able to move really fast on multiple fronts. Thank you, Sean, again. Next up, we have Enrico from Teku.
Yeah. Hey, guys. Enrico from Teku here. So Teku is an historical consensus client like others now, and we are running currently 20% of the validators in the network, which is good. And we are a team of 7 people based on EU and APAC, Australia and New Zealand. We have Lucas here today, which is, yeah, barely awake due to time zone. And we are starting a discussion around Beam support. We are pretty early now. It's just an idea floating around, but we are pretty excited. We want to share the excitement for sure from the team. It's a small team, but we want to, at some point, start following what's going on there. And we would like to track essentially the specs when they are kind of ready-ish, so we can then start evaluating what will be our impact in the current client design. And we haven't heard anything about Java so far. We are a Java client, and we are maintaining also the ZkVM, libp2p, and Java discovery libraries for the ecosystem. And yeah, in terms of ZK support, So we hope that we will have a JVM, a Java runtime support for RISC-V architecture soon. We will plan to monitor and experiment reasonably recently about that, and we'll follow what's going on there. Yeah, that's it from Teku.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, and my understanding is that for the JVM, like RISC-V 64-bit is kind of more friendly, and I think at least I hope that we're going to see more ZkVMs provide support for that. As I'm told, is actually not a heavy lift, so hopefully we'll have more diversity at the RISC-V level, which will mean more support for languages like Java and Go.
Yeah, and I think it's still relevant what also Gajinder said, that in the worst situation, you could always externalize the state transition and do something about that, and still maintaining our high-level architecture, Java-based, JVM-based.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, great point. Okay, so we have one more existing consensus layer team. And then after that, I will invite the two new coordinators to wrap things up and close off the call. So next up, we have Solius from Grandine.
Hello, sorry for background noise. Hopefully you will hear me fine. So yeah, I'm Solis from Grandine team, and we're building consensus layer client, and obviously we are excited about the Beam chain. We already working on kind of related thing that that we are trying to do existing beacon chain state transition function proving. So there is already some good progress on that part. Essentially, our state transition function is already working on SP1 ZkVM. So yep, it's exciting, and we hope that by working with the existing beacon node implementation, essentially doing the similar goals that the Beam chain is trying to achieve with something like certification and so on. We think that this should help Beam chain to be shipped faster. So yeah, so this is the direction that we are thinking to move forward. Yeah, that's all. If you have any question, let me know.
Thank you, Solius. And yeah, I'm in some of these Telegram groups, you know, where Solius is trying to integrate with existing ZkVMs, and he's really kicking the tires and finding all sorts of edge cases and bugs, and you know, this is just a reflection of the fact that the ZkVMs, you know, are still in a process of maturation. But you know, the great news is that directionally speaking, you know, all of the stars should align from a timing perspective, that you know, in a few years' time, ZkVM should be like really hardened production grade pieces of infrastructure that are super simple to integrate with, and all of the know-how that is being learned today by snarkifying the beacon chain, even if the performance is absolutely terrible, will be useful to inform the Beam chain. So yeah, thank you, Solius, for all of that work that you're doing. It's quite exciting. Okay, so to close off the call, I'd like to invite Ladislaus and Will. I guess let's start with Ladislaus.
Yeah, hi folks. Great to meet you all. My name is Ladislaus. I'm helping, or I'm about to join the EF to help with research adjacent tasks such as coordination tasks, and helping with the Beam vision, so to speak, was kind of a no-brainer for me, because it was the beacon chain, I think 5 years ago, which brought me into the more core protocol related Ethereum working groups, so to speak. yeah, so very excited to move forward the consensus layer. And as Justin mentioned earlier, if you have ideas, creative ideas around the naming of our project, please reach out on Telegram. I'm Ladislaus0x, also on Twitter. And yeah, please, Will, go ahead.
Thank you, Ladislaus. Yeah, one thing to mention, if you're watching the recording on YouTube and you'd like to join these calls, well, first of all, congratulations for making it this far. And secondly, like these calls are public. So if you do want to join, just send me a DM. I'm not sharing the link publicly just because I don't want people to disrupt the call. But otherwise, it is a very much an open call. And just DM Ladislaus, DM Will, and we will add you to the calendar invite as well as the internal tracking spreadsheet that we have. Will, if you'd like to close it off, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Justin. I'm Will. I'm going to be joining the EF next week as a coordinator, currently at the Stacks Foundation, where I'm the ecosystem programs manager and do a lot of coordination like this between core developers, between orgs, RFP style grants, governance, the validating network, node operators, things of that nature. And prior to that, I was an architect and did a lot of large project coordination in the construction industry. So just really looking forward to joining everyone and helping keep things streamlined and moving forward.
One piece of context on Will is that he used to build skyscrapers, and to build a skyscraper you need to coordinate hundreds of people across many different teams, and so that's exactly the kind of skill set that we need. We're building a digital skyscraper in some sense, and it's super exciting to have Will on board. And one of the things that I want to highlight is that in addition to the Beam calls, which I'm hoping we're going to have at least once a month, but maybe several times per month, we're going to have in-person events as well. So I'm thinking of organizing Beam days, maybe around EFCC and DevConnect, as well as potentially a whole Beam retreat, a Beam week, where we can spend several days in person and really accelerate things. That's maybe potentially towards the end of the year when we have more visibility on a spec, and it will be an inflection point as to whether or not we do want to charge ahead with this new exciting direction. So this is pretty much the end of Beam call number 1. Maybe we'll have 100 more of these calls, and then we'll be able to ship the Beam chain. So we are really at the very beginning of a long journey, and I'm just so excited to be working with so many inspiring people, and can't wait to see what the future brings. And the next call, as I mentioned at the very beginning, will be in 2 weeks' time on February the 28th at 2 p.m. UTC. We'll be sending calendar invites. That's it, folks. Thank you so much for joining, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.